Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Are all of you able to hear my voice? Yes. Please confirm, is my voice audible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Please type in chat window. Okay, yeah. All right, thank you. Okay, now let us have a look at a syllabus. Let me share the screen with you all. Okay, so here you can see that we have completed in unit 2. In the last class we had seen rock weathering. Okay, we completed rock weathering, and now we will move to geology of soils. Okay, so geology of soils will deal with the soil formation, okay, and its classification. So just give me a moment before I start. Also, there are some students who would be joining, and I need to permit them into the room. So just give me a moment. Okay, so let us begin with the our topic for today, that is geology of soils. Okay, the first topic, as you can see, deals with the formation of soil. Okay, now you might have heard about the weathering in the previous session. Okay, so weathering leads to breaking down of rocks. Okay, and you see, due to the gradual breaking down of rocks and over a very long period of time, over thousands of years, okay, we get to see the soil. Okay, in order to make one layer of soil, it takes millions of years. Okay, now let us see about more about this formation of soil. Okay, and let us look at what soil is. Okay, soil is a thin layer of material covering the earth's surface and is formed from the weathering of rocks. So we have seen what weathering means. Okay, and this top layer, okay, top layer of material, mainly soil, is made up of mineral water and living organisms, etc. Okay, they all interact slowly. Okay, and this layer of soil is mainly responsible, the plant growth. Okay, so now we would also look at the properties of soil. Okay, one of the properties of soil is the soil color. Okay, you might be knowing that you have seen in your lower classes while studying at soil, in probably in the okay, you might have seen about black soil, black cotton soil, red soil. Okay, so they are all distinguished on the basis of color. Okay, and topsoil colors, generally they are dark, light or very light, and subsoil colors. Okay, subsoil colors are red, yellow, brown, gray, etc. Okay, and this color is also an indicator of the nutrients and the organic matter present in the soil. Okay, generally light colored soils are low in organic matter content and high in minerals. For soil drainage, there is a term known as soil drainage that refers to movement of water through layers of the soil surface. Okay, you will be of course learning more about the properties of soil, in subject soil mechanics. Okay, which you would study in third year. Okay, so yeah, so soil color is one of the properties of soil. Okay, then we have soil texture. Okay, now soil texture is referring to the size of individual soil particles. Okay, generally see it is related to the fineness or coarseness of the soil particles, and this soil particle size is also very important because that is an indicator of the water holding capacity. Okay, the water holding capacity and the workability of the soil. Okay, right. Now soils that generally contain very high percentage of sand, would be unfertile. They're not not proper for plant growth. Okay, and smallest of soil particles is present in clay. Okay, you might have seen clay. It is very small. Okay, it holds soil particles. Okay, so far 21 students have joined, so I think the rest would join uh, subsequently. So here you can see now the soil profile. Okay, you can see the soil profile. This is also something which you might have learned in your lower classes. Okay, now generally the two big layers, okay, would be noted down, would be mentioned as topsoil and subsoil. Okay, and the different horizons, soil horizons, are nothing but the layers in the soil. Okay, as you move down the soil profile. Okay, so here you can see that there are four different horizontal layers. Okay, O horizon, A horizon, B horizon, and C horizon. Okay, so briefly we would be learning about these different horizons. Okay, A horizon as you can see, okay, it is a part of the soil, and it contains most of the minerals, nutrients, organic content. Okay, over here. Okay, also biological activity is very high in this layer, because you can see that plant roots, earthworms, and microorganisms, they are all very active within this layer. Okay, and this A horizon is generally darker in color than other horizons, because of the presence of organic materials. Okay, there are still two people who are joining now. Okay, so let us continue now. See, the next one is B horizon. Okay, B horizon is known as, this is the subsoil. Seen the topsoil, and this B horizon is present in the soil. PH, okay, generally fertile than the other the topsoil. Okay, it will hold more moisture. Okay, when water percolates down through the O horizon and the A horizon, it reaches the B horizon, and it will be holding more moisture. Okay, as you can see in the figure, this is lighter in color when compared to the A horizon. Okay, and there is less biological activity over here compared to that of A horizon. Okay, This texture may be also heavier. And sea horizon is the underneath layer underlying weathered rock. Okay, sea horizon here, this sea horizon will not support any kind of plant life. This is simply the unweathered rock, okay, which in future course of time may get weathered and then become part of the soil. Okay, so a horizon is a layer which consists of plant litter, okay, and that accumulates on the top of the surface, soil surface. Okay, then you can see some factors affecting soil formation. Of course, weathering causes the soil formation, and we have already seen the different types of weathering, and how the weathering contributes to the soil formation, right? Okay, so we would be also briefly seeing about the structures of soil. So let us have a look at the structures of soil. Okay, soil structure is defined the way individual particles of sand, silt, clay, etc. are assembled. Okay, and these are also called as aggregates when you have single particles which are appearing as large particles. Okay, in your future classes you would be learning more about aggregates. Okay, namely two types of aggregates, that is coarse aggregates and fine aggregates. Okay, now let us see more about the soil structure. Okay, the ones that I am getting over here are very different. Okay, we have first type of structure known as single grained structure. So let us see how single grained structure looks like. Okay, so this single grained structure, okay, is a type of is a property of coarse grained soils. Okay, and you see there is in between, okay, you see the gaps. Okay, this gap is generally more than 0.02 mm particle size. Okay, if the gap is more than 0.02 mm particle size, then this would be known as a single grained structure. Okay, and here the gravitational forces would be dominating over the surface forces. Okay, and grain to grain contact also occurs. So this is a simple type of single grain structure. Now the next structure is known as honeycomb structure. Let us see honeycomb structure. So here you can see, mm, okay, this central portion, this third portion is known as the honeycomb structure. Okay, generally this kind of structure would occur in fine grained soil and rock floor. Okay, here the grain size of the structure is very small. Okay, and this is due to the formation of arches and which pass over large wide spaces, and generally, the cells of a honeycomb are made up of individual soil grains. There is a large void space in honeycomb structure. As you can see, there are large void spaces here. Okay, and structure, this kind of structure can bear heavy loads. Okay, but it also breaks easily due to external disturbances. Okay, then you have flocculent structure. Okay, this is a property of, again, of fine grained soil. Okay, see, let me repeat, please, while entering uh, in the session, please mention your total roll number in the name itself. Okay, so this will be very useful for me to uh, make a note of the attendance. So flocculent structure is a property of fine-grained soil, generally of clay. Okay, here itself you can see the flocculent structure, and here there is interparticle forces and mutual you see the grains are in contact with each other and they produce a flock. Okay, so a flock is nothing but it is a group of soil particles, okay, around a void space larger than size of soil particles. You can see the soil particles are small but the void sizes are big. Okay, so if they are if these particles they form a group, okay, they form a group together, then they are known as flock. Okay, and group of flocks, okay, you can see many flocks over here. A group of flocks, okay, result in development of flocculent structure. So this is the flocculent structure that I was talking about. Okay, so these are primarily the three types of textures, soil structures. Okay, that is soil grain, single grain structure, flocculent structure, and the honeycomb structure. Okay, then what are let us look at the different kind of factors that affect soil formation. Okay, first factor is known as the parent rock material. Okay, so parent rock is the original material that is exposed at the earth's crust. Okay, the uh, uh, the one the parent rock, okay, that is formed, that is exposed at the earth's crust, is the parent rock. Okay, this definitely affects the soil formation. And it is the material from a rock, or that material that has been deposited by wind, water, ice, etc. Okay, so the parent rock, okay, leads is a huge factor that affects soil formation. Then climatic conditions, okay, indirectly the you see leading to weathering. Okay, climatic conditions are different, like precipitation, okay, temperature fluctuations, changes, great variations in temperature, a seasonal variation or the daily temperature changes, and humidity. Okay, these are also the factors that influence the formation of soils. And topography of the region, okay, the generally soils form on flat surfaces. Okay, and because of the slope of the soil, the slope of the land, okay, there could be runoff. Okay, the orientation also affects the microclimate, it affects the vegetation, etc. Then effect on soil erosion, you can see this. Okay, apart from all this, there's a last factor known as time duration. Okay, so time duration is also, which is very very important in soil formation. Generally the top layer of soil, okay, in the range of thickness of few centimeters, okay, few centimeter thick soil would require thousands of years, okay, to be formed. Okay, so it is not as easy as we think. Okay, it takes thousands of years. Okay, then let us look at a very important topic that is known as classification of soils. Okay, classification of soils is very important, and first classification of soil is known as geological classification. So let us see the geological classification of soil. Okay, the first type of uh, first mode of classification, okay, is geological classification. Under geological classification we have different types. Okay, first type is known as residual soil. Okay, Let us see what this residual soil is about. See here, residual soil is the material resulting from in situ weathering of the parent rock. Okay, generally, when soils are not transported during or after its formation and cover the parent rock, they are known as residual soils. So, if you have parent rocks, okay, and weathering has occurred, and the rocks or the soil particles have not moved from there, okay, if they are present over there itself, then those are known as residual rocks. Okay, and depending upon the climate, topography, and other factors like time period of soil formation, we may come across deep residual soils. Okay, also the thickness of soil changes from place to place. Okay, residual soil contains lot of chemical composition of the parent rock. Okay, and this composition again depends upon the climate of the area. Okay, and they are rich in humus in cold climate regions. Okay, then the second type of soil is known as transported soil. So what is this transported soil? Okay, now transported soils are formed when soils of their parent rock get deposited from one place and get mixed up with various types from another place. Okay, see here, these soils are weathered soil deposited, okay, transported from one place to another. And how do they get transported? They get transported by natural agents like river, uh, glaciers, wind, etc. Okay, so also again here, uh, you have water deposited soils and wind transported soils, glacier deposited soils, gravity deposited soils, and so on. Okay, but mainly we have two broad classification. First type is known as colluvial soil. Okay, colluvial soil. Now let us see what this is. It is a general name for uh, loose unconsolidated sediments that have been deposited at the base of hill slopes by either rain wash, sheet wash, slow continuous downslope creep, etc. Okay, so due to the influence of gravity, okay, they move for a short distance. They are not well stratified. Let us see how they look like. Okay, so you can see wherever you find these colluvial soils. Okay, there is a hill. Okay, because steep slope exists at the hilly regions. So you can see the colluvial soils over here. Okay, they are generally found at the base of the hill slope. Okay, now the next type of soil under transported soil is known as alluvial soil. Okay, I can see here someone joining at this time. It has been more than 20 minutes since the session has started. Okay, what is the meaning of coming at this? Okay, you have alluvial soil, right? Let us see what alluvial soil is. Okay, generally they are made up of very fine material. Okay, and you might have also studied about alluvial soil in geography in your lower classes. Okay, these occur at banks of flood plains due to repeated floods. So you might have learned about the plains, the northern plains. Okay, so in the banks of Ganges, you can find alluvial soils. Okay, so generally due to repeated floods, these soils are formed and they are very very fertile. Okay, during floods they are spread out by streams and they are heterogeneous in nature. Okay, in case you can find them around the flood plains and delta also. Okay, they are very very fertile. Let us also see at these images. Okay, these are all alluvial soils. Okay, so formed generally on the plains. right? Okay. Then you have another another type of soil under transported soil known as glacial soils. Okay, let us see how these glacial soils look like. So, as the name suggests, these are the type of soils which have been transported by glaciers, okay, by ice. So here you can some of these glacial soils can be found in areas along North America, okay, Europe and Asia. So the northern parts, generally the northern parts of the world, North Russia. Okay, so you find mostly snowfall over there. Okay, so because of the snowfall and the presence of glaciers, you can find these glacial soils. Okay, then also, later on, when the glaciers had transported ice, had transported the soil over a considerable distance, it later melted on, and the debris was carried over and deposited elsewhere. Okay, so thus also these soils, okay, so they are also the glacial soils. Let us see at the next type known as aeolian soil, aeolian soils. Okay. Aeolian soils are the types of soils which have been transported by winds. Now, generally, you might have heard about sand dunes. Okay, you might have heard about sand dunes in desert areas. So, these aeolian soils, okay, wind is predominantly effective in desert areas. Okay, so you can see the aeolian landform here, aeolian soils. Okay, in deserts you can find the sand dunes. Okay, you can see the aeolian sand dunes over here. Okay, these are all formed due to the transportation by winds. Okay, mostly they comprise of dust, silt and sand grained particles. Okay, and have clay fractions as well. Mostly, as I said, they are common in desert areas. Okay, in and in sandy soils. Now let us see next type of soil. It's known as lacustrine soil. Okay, so, what are these lacustrine soils? Okay, soils are nothing but they are formed by accumulation of debris in bodies of standing water like lakes, etc. Okay, so generally, if you have lakes and you have the soil particles stranded, accumulated, okay, in this standing water, then you have these lacustrine soils. Okay, these are very smaller group soils. You can see some of these lacustrine soils, and in Kashmir they are famous for supporting saffron crops. Okay, right. So this was all about the geological classification. Now there is another type of major type of classification known as engineering classification. Let us see what this engineering classification is. Okay, so engineering classification of soils. Okay, different scientists have come forward, um, and there have been a different kind. They have all proposed different kinds of classification. Okay, the first type is known as uh, first they are distinguished on the basis of you know the grades. So here let us see at this. So this is not the right one. Okay. So you will of course be learning more deeply about this in subject soil mechanics at a later stage. Okay, uh, I'll be just mentioning about some of this, some of the types under this. So you have coarse grained soil. Okay, coarse grained soil, right? These are coarse grained soils. So on the basis, they're identified on the basis of particle size. Okay, so if suppose half the total material by weight, okay, if you have soil particles and more than half of the total material by weight is larger than 75 micron sieve, okay, 75 micron sieve size, then we call them as coarse grained. Okay, so among this coarse grained also, see here, if there are some students who are trying to intentionally join the class just 5 to 10 minutes before the completion, so this is not appropriate, this is not correct, so I've simply removed them. Okay, right. So first, among coarse grained soil, okay, you have two types under coarse grained soil. First you have gravels. Okay, gravels. Let us see about the gravels. Now in these soils, in gravels, okay, uh, the more than half of the coarse fraction, okay, more than half of the coarse fraction is greater than 4.75 ISC. Okay, let me show you how ISC looks like. Anyways, you would be performing the experiment in your soil mechanics lab at a later stage, that is in third year. So meanwhile you can see the sieve. Okay, this is the 4.75 sieve. Okay, so each of these void spaces would be around would be of length 4.75 Okay, so those rock particles, okay, they would be rock particles which would be retained on this sieve and some other which would pass through this sieve. Okay, if more than half of the coarse fraction is larger than this 4.75 sieve, then you would call them as gravels. Okay, then you have clean gravels and also gravels with fines. So you have different symbols for the same. Okay, you can learn about that. The other major type under coarse grained soil is known as sands. Okay, what are these sands now? Sands, simply put forward, this is here more than half of the coarse fraction would be smaller than 4.75 sieve. That is, more than half of the sample would simply pass through the sieve. Okay, they will not be retained. Okay, and then after coarse grained soil we have fine grained soils. Fine grained soils are again divided into three categories. First one's having silt and clay of low compressibility. Okay, see here, it is, these are all actually uh, having, these are big topics. Fine grained soils. Okay, so particle diameter between 75 micron to 2 micron, right? And they are having 50% or less material passing through the number 200 sieve. So let us see what fine grained soils are. Okay, see here, these are the different sieve sizes. Okay, this is the 2 microns, 75 microns, 425 microns, okay, 2 mm, 4.75 mm, 20 mm, so on. Okay, these are the different sieve sizes. This is a classification chart. Okay, these are above your scope. Okay, mostly you will be learning about them in soil mechanics. See, these are the this is also under the engineering classification. You have gravel. Okay, gravel, then again you have four subgroups known as well graded, poorly graded, silty, clayey, etc., and there are symbols for the same. Okay, in sands you have well graded, poorly graded, silty, clayey, and you have symbols for the same. Then you have silt, clay, organic peat, etc. Okay, see here, fine grained soils. Okay, we have seen plasticity chart. Most of these, as I said, more in depth, you will be dealing with them in soil mechanics. Okay, under fine grained soil, let me just briefly tell you about this. You have silt and clay of low compressibility, then you have silts and clay of medium compressibility, and silts and clay of high compressibility. Okay, and then you have some other types under the some under them. Okay, so basically, so we have just seen this engineering classification. Then you would also be looking briefly at the soil groups of India. Okay, I will definitely be sharing you the notes pertaining to engineering classification of soil. Okay, in the blog. Okay, then you have major soil groups of India. Okay, you might get a question on this also, so it is better not to ignore this. Okay, you have types of Indian soils. So first soil is known as alluvial soil, which we had seen, mostly formed in the northern plains of India. uh, okay, these soils are drained by Ganges, Brahmaputra river. They have a lot of humus content, and um, they are the most fertile. Okay, formed from deposits of silt and sand brought down from the rivers. Then you have black soils, also known as black cotton soils, covering large parts of Maharashtra, like Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, etc., and they form white cracks during summer due to moisture loss, and this will become sticky. Okay, and we have red soils covering part of the peninsula in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Goa, etc. Okay, you have laterite soils mostly found in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Orissa, etc. Okay, formed under hot and humid climatic conditions, and particularly found on high flat erosion surfaces uh, in areas of high and seasonal rainfall. Okay, and you have desert soils occurring in western Rajasthan, parts of Maharashtra, western Haryana, southern Punjab, etc. Okay, very this soil, desert soil is having very poor organic matter. Okay, less of humus, and because of very less frequent rainfall and low moisture, this kind of soil is formed. Okay, and mountain soils in mountain areas in the near the Himalayas. Okay,